Week 8, today we talked about intrusion detection systems, intrusion prevention systems, and then students worked on the lab. As crazy as this looks, what I'm trying to show is even though you have a firewall trying to protect all your perimeter things, you know, to your networks and maybe a DMZ or whatever here, your internal and your public or your private networks, even though you create these barriers to, like zones, to protect things, there's still the issue of either your internal people making mistakes, or somebody phishing and getting in, or something happened internally to cause problems. So you need a way to monitor what's going on internally. As crazy as it might seem. Okay? So what we're going to do is, that's what we're working on this week. We've already covered the basics of security. We covered how to secure network or intermediate devices, and we also covered the basics of firewalls. We'll be doing firewalls with the ASA, Cisco products, Palo Alto firewalls, and the Fortinet. Students are to be getting caught up, taking the chapter exams. Where we just monitor the network, and we're, then we can check and see, if something doesn't look right, somebody can be notified, etc. It's more of a promiscuous mode where we're not in line with the traffic, we're just watching it. An IPS can be either way, but here, based on if we have an alert or something isn't right, then we can take some kind of action based on something. Now, we can do these intrusion prevention systems, we can do it host-based, which would be more granular in the fact that we can have protections based on what applications we're running and so forth. Or we can do it network-based. It would be independent of your operating systems and your software. You would just be watching the traffic through the network. Now, how much of all this that we do, you somehow have to calculate your risk. Are you going to try to mitigate all the problems? Are you just going to accept the problems, or are you going to remove the risk? And how does the risk affect, in most cases, we talk about the functioning of your business or company. How you deploy it, you can be where you're just watching and having little effect on the network, or you can put it in line. Now here, if the sensors go bad, whatever you're using for a sensor, that can create all kinds of problems. Here, if a sensor goes bad, it's not as big a deal. Okay? So less effect on the traffic here, and here you have more effect on the traffic. What are you looking for? We'll call them signatures. It could be atomic, you can look for one item, or it could be a composite, where you're looking for a whole string of things. Here you're just looking at a particular thing. Then, based on the alarm, which we're going to look at on the next slide, you take some kind of action. Are you just going to log it? Are you going to notify people and so forth? Are you going to stop it, block it completely, or like TCP, maybe stop this traffic and reset it and just block that traffic and get your services back up? What could trigger it? It could be based on a pattern-based. You're going to compare this pattern with the pattern you have in the signature, and that could be atomic, where you're just looking at one thing, or you might be looking at a whole string of things out to some horizon here, and compare that to your signatures to see if you get a match. Anomaly, you take a look at anything that is different than your current network flow. Okay? Something out of the unusual. And it may or may not be a problem, but you look at that. You can set policies. These are the things that if we see any of these, then we're going to trigger something and take a look at it. That could be, might be like virus. There might not be anything like viruses or malware or anything like that, but you're looking at these. And then, based on your policy, and then a honeypot is this idea of if you recognize traffic, you route it to this different location where it can just go off to nowhere, or you can try to keep people in there and try to research and see if you can figure out where that malicious traffic is coming from. Alright, the last thing. These both are issues. A false positive means you have a positive, but it's not really true. So you think there's something wrong, but there isn't. It's false. So you need to tune that. You need to change it so you're not getting those. Now this one you wouldn't see. It's saying it's negative, but it's a false negative. More or less it's negative. You don't have a problem, but that's false. You really do have a problem. Once you recognize that, then you better tune that too, because it's not triggering anything, but all of a sudden you notice you do have a problem. Now these are ideal, what you want to do. You have negative, nothing wrong, and that's true. Or you get a positive reading, you have something wrong, and it triggers it. It says, well, that's true. And then you manage that with whatever action you have set up. So the action's based on the trigger. And the trigger is based on something that you have predetermined in your signatures, whether it's a pattern, anomaly, policy, or whatever. And then the last thing we'll review, are you going to look at something that's atomic, just one basic thing, or are you going to look at something that's a composite, a whole group of things that we will look at in order to decide if we're triggering or not. And once you trigger, you take some action. Well, that's it.